You want me to start it? Or I go ahead.
I think Taylor has a little bit of new news.
Our guest today is the singer, songwriter, producer, and director from Nashville, Tennessee. That's bullshit. She is from Reading, Pennsylvania.
Yeah. So I'm like, in my mind is like her being so calm, cool, collected, and so just real and understanding about everything that's going on.
The New Heights podcast was just interrupted by Taylor Swift, and you can bet your bottom dollar that she has left the internet in a state of disarray. The music icon is not known to participate in interviews very often, so this was a very remarkable opportunity. She waltzed in with the confidence of someone who knew she was about to dominate the news cycle, and she did not disappoint. The megastar, who is notoriously choosy about interviews, waltzed in because she knew she was about to dominate the news cycle. When she announced that her 12th studio album, titled The Life of a Showgirl, will be released on October 3rd, she made her first shocking announcement. There was an immediate explosion of hypotheses among Swifties as Travis continued to recount the story of how he and Taylor went from exchanging flirtatious texts to becoming the most watched pair in the world of sports and music. The time arrived, the lively back and forth, the playful looks, the taunting glances. After that, he inadvertently let something slide through his fingers. There were just a few sentences, but they were sufficient to cause Jason to shake his head in absolute amazement. Taylor's sly half smile only served to stoke the fires of anger, and Jason's astonished silence spoke volumes about the situation. The audience was under the impression that they had just heard the first genuine indication of wedding bells. Despite this, Taylor did not limit herself to romantic relationships. It was clear that she was not shy about regaining her earlier albums, the excitement that comes from hiding Easter eggs in her songs for her most devoted fans to discover. In addition, there was a lot of chaos going on behind the scenes of her Eras tour, which was making history. She even admitted that she had a problem with baking sourdough bread, which is not exactly a secret anyhow. For the simple reason that despite the fact that she is governing the planet, she's still feeding her starter like the rest of us. However, the fact that she appeared to be completely vulnerable was what made this present so electrifying. In real time, more than 1.3 million people tuned in. As soon as Travis dropped that suggestion that was almost at the level of engagement, the conversation descended into complete and utter mayhem. There was hardly any time for the teaser to be shared on Instagram before Swifties pounced. First, they examined each frame as if it were a crime scene, and then they actually saw it. One of the novels that was behind Taylor was titled Casa Wabi, and that was a very telling title. Now, to the untrained view, it appears to be nothing more than a book, yet to the most devoted admirers, it was all the proof they required. Even though it is located on the Pacific coast of Mexico, Casa Wabi is more than just an art foundation. Simply put, it is the ideal location for a wedding. We are talking about breathtaking views of the coastline, an observatory that allows guests to gaze at the sky, and the kind of private, no-press environment that screams to be a secret wedding. Consequently, this is the root of all of the hypotheses. Was this a breadcrumb left by the most calculated Easter egg dropper in the world specifically for this purpose? Possibly. Taylor and Travis have already exchanged their vows while the sun was setting in Mexico. Moreover, here is the thing. History is found in Casa Wabi. It was established in 2014 by the artist Bosco Sodi, and it has been the location of numerous celebrity weddings as well as art exhibitions at various times. It's the kind of place where celebrities go away for the weekend and come back with rings on their engagement rings. As a result, the crowd had a wild reaction. In addition, Casa Wabi is not exactly bringing about a sense of tranquility, and they expressed their excitement at seeing their book in the shot in a statement that was sent to the Daily Mail. They also extended an invitation to Taylor to visit them in person and witness their work, which of course sounds less like a denial and more like a request. Have a good time. However, this is where things get much more intense. In a moment that shed light on everything, Travis Kelce revealed a great deal to GQ. On the 12th of August 2025, he disclosed his thoughts regarding his parents, including how they remained united for the sake of their children even after they had divorced, and how he aspires to form a bond with his future bride that is unbreakable and long-lasting. It goes without saying that there were no names, but for Swifties, it was just as good as asking for something. It is a fact that Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift are being referred to as the IT couple. Since the year 2023, the pop diva and the NFL great have been living in that unique atmosphere where romance and superstardom live side by side. What's up, Dave? What's up, Taylor? They have caused the Swifties and the Chiefs kingdom to experience a collective breakdown as a result of their actions. In terms of the charts, she is shattering records. The fortifications on the field are being broken by him. To add insult to injury, whenever they leave the house, they are causing a stir on the internet. On the other hand, the most wonderful thing about these two is that despite all of the flashing cameras and screaming fans, they have been playing their private life like a high-stakes game of keep away. Since they went public in September 2023, they have given the world a few views of themselves hand in hand in New York and having intimate meals in Palm Beach, but they have never given too much information. On the other hand, Travis Kelce has just opened the door wider than it has ever been before. The most recent interview that Travis Kelce gave to GQ was one in which he made himself vulnerable by discussing love, marriage, and the kind of relationship that he desired. Kelce acknowledged that his mother and father were the most trustworthy partners for their children when he reflected on the dissolution of his parents' marriage, which occurred after his brother Jason and he had completed higher education. But the relationship itself began to wane as time went on. Even if Kelce has managed to come to grips with the fact that his parents have divorced, this does not mean that he has given up on the idea of a love that lasts forever. In point of fact, the Kansas City Chiefs star virtually lighted up when he told GQ that he still longs for the kind of ride or die commitment that he has observed in the few friends whose parents are still together. And then came the part that is probably going to make Swifties completely lose their heads. When his prior statement that his ideal lady would have characteristics in common with his mother, Donna Kelce, was pressed upon, he made it very obvious that Taylor is the perfect example of such a woman. He talked about his capacity to express love and support regardless of the circumstances, as well as his kindness, genuineness, and the warmth with which he greeted everyone in the room. He also highlighted his ability to show support and love. Additionally, as if that weren't enough, he lauded her unyielding dedication to her career. It would appear that Taylor Swift is also gaining the approval of the man who matters the most, which is on par with that of a mother. Nevertheless, Kelce continued, and he revealed the true beginning of their love story by pulling back the curtain. It wasn't some celebrity flesh adorable that had been well made and airbrushed. It occurred spontaneously, almost by accident, and was sparked by the people who they simply happened to be surrounded by in the same room on that particular occasion. The two individuals were just two fun-loving souls that connected with each other as soon as they met. They had a special ability to make everyone around them feel as though they were actually seen. This kind of relationship has the potential to fill an entire stadium. At this point, it has become clear that the fairy tale did not simply write itself. It was written by an improbable co-author. It would appear that the co-author was a podcaster who specializes in football. Taylor didn't miss a beat when she was asked why she even agreed to appear on this particular podcast, which is more about touchdowns than it is about top 40 hits. This podcast got me a boyfriend, she declared, eye sparkling. She then on to make a fun jab at Travis Kelce for using the show as his personal dating app through her statement. Specifically, he intended to deliver it over to her in person. As a matter of fact, they never even had the chance to meet. As the video went viral, Taylor felt as though she had been transported to a romantic comedy from the 1980s, the kind of situation in which the individual uses a boombox to make his intentions abundantly obvious while standing outside of your apartment. From that point on, the group responsible for matchmaking went into overdrive, to the point where they were nearly conducting an intervention. Her cousins insisted that he was incredible. My brand new album is presented here. The Life of a Showgirl is the title of this book. I adore it. I adore it. During the time that I was staying in Europe, I was working on this particular project. This is genuine pop star poetry that is dramatic, moody, and evocative. The visual, according to her, reflects her most intimate post-tour ritual, which consists of retreating into the peace and quiet of a bathtub after hours of light, screams, and glitter. Each of her show days is an exact identical copy of the previous one. On the marquee, the only thing that has changed is the name of the city. On the other hand, this album is not the only one regarding stage lighting. She considers it to be a body of work that is derived from everything that is taking place behind the scenes. Nobody is aware of the tiredness, the adrenaline, or the tangled feelings that are present. Throughout the Eras tour, Swift flew back to Sweden in between European shows to collaborate with hitmakers Max Martin and Shellback. A significant portion of the song was composed in the midst of the mayhem that occurred throughout the tour. The end result was music that was the product of pure creative devotion, where exhaustion and anger collided. Additionally, in a manner that is characteristic of Taylor Swift, the instant that pre-orders became available, her website virtually collapsed under the onslaught of admirers who were attempting to get their hands on it. During the show, Travis couldn't help but share his thoughts and opinions.